It's yours. If you're going to own a sword, you better know how to use it.
I'm Matt.
I'm Kerry.
We are the Stagmer brothers of Baltimore Knife and Sword.
Our work can be seen on film, Broadway, and at Renaissance festivals around the country.
We're going to be building some of your favorite weapons, and some weapons that you've never seen before.
This is Man at Arms, Reforged. For our Game of Thrones build, we decided to build Arya Stark's needle. I actually have been collecting small swords for many years, so this build really intrigued me.
To make the needle from Game of Thrones, I choose 1075 steel and 1520, and they produce a very nice pattern. In the series, the blade is not pattern welded, but I decided to make it a little bit more interesting.
Ilya will cut them all to matching lengths, stack them, and weld them. We MIG weld the stacked material together so that as we're forge welding, they don't slide off of each other. It makes the welding much easier. We use standard Mule Team borax to flux the billet. Flux is used to clean the billet and create a better weld. We use a hand hammer to set the weld. It allows us to feel the pieces come together and fuse into one. Working with hand hammers, sometimes it's necessary to have a second person to help you move a piece of metal faster. In this case, Sam uses his hammer to hold the billet down while Ilya folds it over. We draw out the billet on the power hammer and then round it prior to twisting. We use a pipe wrench with an extra bar welded on it so that we can twist and keep the pieces straight.
Now that we've twisted the billet for needle, the Damascus pattern is going to be exposed after Matt grinds it. It should look like a series of stars or diamonds along the sides.
So we were looking online at the needle, and we've noticed that the sword is actually made up of a group of parts from 18th century small swords. We have a small collection of 18th century small swords. Lauren's going to incorporate those pieces. We'll shoot the waxes, cut them from those pieces, and she's going to set all those up and make something very, very close to what needle is in the show.
We've got our face of our little demon. Now I've got to start finishing it from the image that we have. It looks like almost wood grain, so I'm going to start putting some lines into the wax. We've started with the pommel. It was blank before, and I've been appliquing the wax on top and then carving away at it. There's also a piece that'll go on the top, sort of like a little button, and we're debating right now if that button has a stone in it or not. We might just do it because we can.
After sculpting and spruing, Lauren uses plaster with silica in it to invest the pieces so that we can cast them in bronze. Lauren brings the flask from the kiln and sets it into the vacuum machine. I then bring in the bronze and pour it in. Every time we quench something that we haven't made a mold of, we're always concerned that everything turns out. Every time it feels lucky. This time it feels especially lucky as we withdraw all the pieces for needle and everything is intact and all the metal's where we need it to be.
Now that we have the bronze guard and pommel cast, I move to the wire wheel to clean off any excess investment that's left on the pieces.
We actually cast the pommel with the setting in place for a stone. You have to be very careful when cleaning this and polishing it so that you don't knock away the edges of the bezel.
So in the Game of Thrones, we have a lot of epic weapons, some even more epic deaths. None of them have been carried out more swiftly than by needle. That's basically because it's a stabbing, poking weapon. So you'll see Arya just comes up and just pokes somebody, walks away, that's it. They're dead. So I got my nice triangular cross section. Now I'm gonna go to the small wheel and turn these flats into nice hollow scoops. I got a little bit more tapering and some more shaping to be done on this. Don't want to do too much before heat treating. So at this point I'm ready to go hand it off to the guys outside for heat treat. So what we're getting ready to do is we're going to normalize the needle blade. The reason we're going to normalize it is because it's made from twist Damascus, so it has a lot of energy in that blade wanting it to twist. So we're going to do this normalizing cycle 2 or 3 times to relieve the stress. Each heat I'm going to remove it, go to the anvil with a wood hammer, and just slightly tap it to get it straight before letting it cool slowly. After normalization, it's now time for heat treat. We place the blade back into the forge and heat it up to critical temperature and quench it in oil for hardening. After quench, I have a little bit of time to play with this blade to get it straight before the crystals get fully formed. Has a slight gentle curve right here. We're able to fix that all in the grinding and the tempering. After heat treat, we place the blade into the hot oil bath for tempering. This will turn the blade from being brittle to being really tough. Now that we have our Damascus blade heat treated and tempered, it's time to clean up my grinds. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this sweep grind into a sharp plunge grind. I'm then going to go in and add a little more taper to the blade and then polish it out. I finish the polishing on needle and then move on to the Scotch-Brite to prep it to be etched. Our blade is now fully polished. We're now ready to submerge it into the ferric chloride to reveal the pattern. I place the blade into a vertical tank of ferric chloride. Ferric chloride etches the metals differently, bringing out our beautiful star pattern that we got from Ilya twisting the billet. I drill a 1/4 inch hole in the center of our wood blank. I then move on to the torch, heat the tang, and burn the wood handle on to perfection. We have a nice tight fit. Obviously too thick here, so we're gonna go ahead and go to the sander and refine our shape. Now that we're fully assembled, we got all our parts good and done. Only thing left to do is take our leather, wrap it around our wood handle, and glue it in place. Once we get our handle covered, we'll be ready to hunt ourselves some Lannisters.
Click here to subscribe or click here to watch more episodes. Thanks for watching Man-at-Arms Reforged. We need to know what you want the guys to build, so tell us in the comments below what weapons you want to see next.